was an intense amount of pressure all the time. And so I have firsthand experience in how hard it is to stay brilliant when you're under this constant pressure. And the reason why that is a challenge as a founder is not just the well-being and the mental health that we're talking here about, but it's also that it affects your performance, your cognitive function, your ability to be effective as a leader. And there is actually pretty clear science on that. The challenge is that the higher cognitive abilities that we have, creativity, complex thinking, ability to focus, but also relational abilities, ability to listen, to relate to others, perspective taking, they're all dependent on the state of our nervous system. And so when our brain is stressed, the prefrontal cortex, which is where our executive function is located, so all the higher thinking is effectively taken offline, and the more ancient, more primal parts of the brain take over, primarily the amygdala that you can see here, and they literally hijack the brain. Now, these are faster, but they're less sophisticated. So this faster leads to you becoming more reactive, more impulsive in the moment, and the less sophisticated costs you up to 40% of your cognitive capacity. That's what research says. And on top of that, also costs your relational capacity. So the ability to listen, to relate, to take perspectives, which is important to be an effective leader, right? So overall, when our brain is stressed, we turn into a bit of a Neanderthal version of ourselves that is a little bit more primitive, a little bit more primal, right? And the interesting part about that is that you don't even need to be aware of it. And it doesn't take a super high amount of stress. Even mild stress can cause pretty significant cognitive impairment. And sometimes I like to compare it to the effect of alcohol on your brain. So when you had just 2 or 3 beers, right, like you might actually feel, I'm fine, right? Like I'm still on top of my faculties. I can probably drive home safely, no problem, right? But you're already impaired. And it's the same with stress exposure. You might still feel like, okay, I can push through this. Like obviously you're aware that you're stressed, but you're like, I'm fine, my brain is working. But you're kind of running your company as if you were drunk all day. And that's the reality of it, and that's just the biology. And so the conundrum that you're faced with is that the stress that is just inherent to building a company and being a founder erodes the very abilities, cognitive abilities, relational abilities that you need to be effective as a founder. That's just the biology of it. So that's the bad news. And I'm sorry if that makes you more stressed, by the way. But there is a good news, which is that we can deliberately influence the state of our nervous system to a much larger degree than most people realize. And I call the set of skills that allows you to do that nervous system intelligence. I also believe that nervous system intelligence is the ultimate leadership meta skill, especially now in the age of AI, when everything accelerates and the pressure and the stress, the complexity, the uncertainty just keeps mounting, right? Because nervous system intelligence fundamentally helps you make sure that you can access those higher abilities, cognitive abilities, relational abilities that you need to be effective under circumstances that would otherwise cut you off from those abilities. So it effectively helps you close the gap between the abilities that you need and the abilities that you can access. That's why it's important. Nervous system intelligence has 4 main pillars that I want to walk you through today. The first one is awareness. So awareness is fundamentally about understanding how your environment, but also your lifestyle, your habits, influence the state of your nervous system, and how the state of your nervous system then in turn determines which abilities you can actually access in a given moment. Number 2 is regulation. Regulation is about having a set of tools, a toolkit that allows you to shift the state of your nervous system on demand in real time. Number 3 is training. So training is about long-term practice that allows you to strengthen the resilience of your nervous system and elevate the baseline so you can function on a higher level in general. So much like going to the gym strengthens your body, this is about strengthening your nervous system in the long term. And number 4 is context engineering. And context engineering is about being deliberate in architecting the context, the environment, the lifestyle, the habits that support nervous system balance and recovery, so your brain can operate on an optimal level. So let's look at awareness first. Awareness starts with the understanding that the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that governs all of our physiology, right? All of the physiological functions from heartbeat, blood pressure, digestion, brain waves, everything is run by the autonomic nervous system. And this nervous system has 2 main branches. The sympathetic, which is fundamentally the accelerator. This is what's mobilizing you for action, right? It's activating your body physiologically. And then you have the parasympathetic branch, which governs rest and recovery, restoration. Now, we are designed to move between these two, so one is not better than the other. So we're designed to activate sympathetically to meet a challenge or meet a demand, and then move back into this parasympathetic state of recovery to basically repair the cellular damage that has been caused by whatever effort you have exerted. The problem of modern work, and as a founder it's of course 10 times amplified, is that you spend most of your time in this sympathetically active, wired state, and barely any time in the recovery mode. And when it comes to recovery, it's also worth mentioning that not all non-working time is equally restorative. So I think part of the problem is that we don't spend enough time in recovery, but even the time that we're not working, a lot of times we do activities that don't really properly restore us. And the problem with that is that when you do it over an extended period of time, you start losing your capacity because your body never gets the chance to recover and restore the cellular damage, right? So you start losing your capacity over time, up to a point, if you do it long enough, that you can eventually lose the capacity to recover itself. And that's fundamentally what burnout is a lost capacity to recover. And it's very hard to come out of that, which is why it's so important to be aware and notice when you already see your capacity declining or when you're running on physiological debt, so you can counteract that process before it gets too late and you're already in the burnout territory. So awareness is fundamentally about being able to read your own state, and the most direct and simple way to do that is actually by observing your breath. And this is what Philip was talking about. You notice it by yourself, right? So when you notice that your breath is fast and shallow at the top of your chest, that's telling you that you're in a sympathetically activated state. Now, if that is just a couple minutes in a day, that's not a problem. But when you notice that you're in that state most of your day, that's a warning signal. When you're in a parasympathetic state, your breath automatically drops low into your belly and slows down. And so this is a simple check that you can also do a few times during the day, just as a routine, just to notice, where is my breath, how fast is it? And when you notice that your breath is fast and shallow at the top of your chest most of the day, take it as a information, as a point of data, right? As a matter of fact, I invite you to, everyone, do this right now. So maybe just take a moment and notice, first of all, the location of your breath. Can you feel it in your chest or can you feel it in your belly without changing anything? And then I want you to pay attention how long it is. So if you can take a measure in seconds, how long it takes you to complete one cycle of inhale and exhale. try to not change the breath. It's always a bit tricky when you pay attention to it. Okay, everyone got a count? Okay, so we'll get back to it later. So just remember, if you had a count. So this is your basically instant feedback loop about the state that you're in. Now we're sitting here all relaxed, so in theory everyone should breathe low and slow into your belly. If you notice, even in this relaxed setting, that your breath is in the chest, that is already a signal that you're in kind of a chronic sympathetic overdrive potentially. So now, once you know which state you're in the moment or in general throughout the day, the question is what you can do about it. This is where we enter the pillar of regulation. And this is what's really, really so cool about breath. And like, even after years and years in this field, I'm still so excited about it, because most of your autonomic nervous system runs completely automatically below your conscious control, and you actually cannot take conscious control over it. You cannot decide to slow down your heart rate, or to accelerate your digestion, or lower your blood pressure. But you can decide to slow down your breath, or change your breath in any other way, in any moment. And that's what makes breath a really unique function, because you have this dual control. It runs perfectly well on autopilot, so you don't have to remember to breathe throughout the day, right? But you can also take full conscious control over it anytime you want during the day. And it's the only function in the body that has this dual function, which makes it the perfect entry point into the nervous system and into influencing the state of the nervous system. So for example, when you breathe slow and low into your body deliberately, so you emulate this natural, calm, relaxed breath, you stimulate the vagus nerve, which is what you can see here. So the vagus nerve starts at the cranium, goes all the way down, branches out a lot around the chest, then this is around the diaphragm, and has a lot of ending and connected receptors in the viscera. And so this is the primary reason why low breathing in the belly is so calming, because you can see that most of the fibers and receptors of the vagus nerve are actually in the lower body. Now when you breathe into the lower body, you stimulate this whole part of the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is basically the communication highway between the body and the brain. And interestingly, 80% of the communication goes from the bottom up, from the body to the brain. So the body tells the brain more than the brain tells the body, which is quite fascinating. And so when you breathe in this way and you stimulate this lower part, the vagus nerve brings the signal that you're safe and calm up to the brain, and then the brain sends another top-down signal to the rest of the body to calm down. And so this is how you can, simply by modulating your breath, you can shift the whole system into a more calm, more clear, more centered state. And so fundamentally, by taking control over your breath, you can take control over your mind. And I'm still so fascinated by that. I think that's the most empowering thing that I have ever learned, because it tells you that you have much more agency over your life experience than you think. Like, you're not a victim of the circumstances. No one can trigger you, or no situation can trigger you if you choose to stay centered. So today I want to share with you the 4 basics of functional breathing. Now, functional breathing is about breathing well in your day-to-day. And it's fundamentally about breathing in a way that keeps your nervous system balanced and keeps your brain functioning in an optimal state, because it brings your whole body into a state of coherence. 4 basics of functional breathing. First one, sit or stand tall. It's more important than you think. The diaphragm needs room to move. So if you want to adjust your posture now, you're very welcome. Number 2, breathe through the nose. I don't have time to go into the science in detail, but it is way more important than you think. So you want to breathe through the nose during the day, during the night, and also during exercise as much as possible, at least when you're in zone 1, zone 2 cardio. If there's any reason why you cannot breathe through your nose during any of these time frames, I strongly recommend to have it checked out, try to address it, because in the short run, it's a cognitive performance issue. In the long run, it's a brain health issue. So you definitely want to be able to breathe through your nose. Number 3, learn to root the breath low. This is so you can stimulate all this lower part of the vagus nerve. So the lower you can breathe, the more steady, the more calm, the more centered you're going to be. And number 4 is to slow the breath down. Ideally to about 5 to 6 breaths per minute in your normal day-to-day. So that's about 10 to 12 seconds for one round of inhale and exhale. Does anyone want to share what their count was when we measured it before?
Like 4 seconds for me, probably. A little bit faster. I'm still like a bit nervous, and new room and new people, so I'm trying to still looking at my breath as we speak here, but I think it's getting slower as we move on.
That's good. Anyone else wants to share?
Was the same, 4 seconds.
Yeah. So this is, by the way, this is quite normal. Most people breathe about 12 to 14 breaths per minute. So if you want to cut it down to 5 to 6 breaths, that's less than 50%. And basically when you breathe a little bit too fast all day long, it is keeping you in a kind of like a mild state of like chronic activation all day long. And so this is why you don't enter the restorative state. So basically when you slow your breath down to this 5 to 6 breaths per minute, which is within reach for most people unless you're super, super stressed. Some people can't even slow their breath down so far. You kind of bring your body into a state of balance where you're able to perform in a meeting and be very clear. Also, your brain gets optimal oxygenation, so it can work better. But you also have this parasympathetic activation, so you're not running on physiological debt, but your body can actually restore while you're going through your day-to-day. So for basics, sit or stand tall, breathe through the nose, root the breath low, and slow your breath down. There are, of course, more advanced, perhaps more exciting techniques. You can also be more specific about which state you want to get into. So it's not just about calming down. You can also boost your energy. You can get into a very specific state of deep focus or expanded creativity, which is a different blueprint than this kind of focused state, right? You can also have altered states and psychedelic experiences or experiences that feel like similar to taking a psychedelic. So there's a broad range of effects that you can get through breath, but functional breathing is really the foundation that we build on, and that's why I like to start with it. And the great thing about it is also that it's so discreet that you can use it anytime, anywhere, even in a meeting, as Philip said before. And the way I like to think about it is you're taking about 20,000 breaths every day anyway. You might as well do it well in a way that supports your nervous system balance and it supports your brain performance. So every day you have 20,000 opportunities to support your brain, and you can do it anytime. So taking of opportunity, that's exactly what we're going to do now. So we're going to go into our practice. I'm going to set up some nice music. You can already find your nicest, straightest posture. Ideally, I recommend not leaning back, but sit upright. Starting by closing your eyes if you like. taking an inventory of your inner state that you arrived in. Notice how your body feels in this moment. Notice your emotional state. Notice your state of mind. And then without changing anything, just bring awareness to your breath. Notice the rhythm, the pace of your breath. Notice the shape of your breath. Is it in the chest? Is it in the belly? Perhaps you can feel it in both. Then notice the sensation of breath in your body, starting at the nostrils. Bring your awareness to the breath passing in and out through your nostrils. Feel the gentle flow of air, the subtle difference, temperature between the inhale and the exhale. Breath into your body. Take a pause at your throat. Notice the sensation of breath passing in and out through your throat. Notice also here if you can feel the subtle difference in temperature. The breath deeper into your body, taking a stop at the chest. Notice gentle movement in your chest, or perhaps stillness in your chest. How does the breath feel in your chest right now? Breath even deeper into the body, into the abdomen. Notice the gentle rise and fall in your abdomen. Awareness anchored here in your abdomen. Now we start to deliberately invite the breath to settle into the lower body. So either continue breathing into the abdomen or deliberately direct the breath down if you were before breathing in your chest. And if you like, you can also bring the palms of your hands onto your belly to have a little bit of tactile feedback. And start breathing into your hands. Perhaps also adjust your posture to keep your spine upright. Start deliberately breathing down into your lower body. You can also start expanding the breath here a bit, finding more volume keeping it rooted in the belly. Notice how it feels to breathe this way. Notice the calming effect of breathing into your belly. And then we're going to go even deeper into the body. Imagine you're trying to draw the breath all the way down towards your tailbone. Now, of course, we know we don't have lungs in our belly, but when we breathe really deeply into the lower lobes of the lungs, the diaphragm descends down and creates downward pressure on the organs in the abdominal cavity. And this is what we can experience as the sensation of breath in our lower body and all the way down into the seat. So now imagine you're trying to draw your breath all the way down towards your tailbone, so down and towards the back. And to allow it to pass through, you can gently engage your abdominal muscles. So just enough core engagement so that your belly is not expanding forward as much anymore, and more of the pressure can distribute down towards your seat and towards your tailbone. Notice how the small change changes the sensation of breath in your lower body. Perhaps you can notice that it becomes a little bit more effortful to breathe this way as the diaphragm is pushing against more resistance now. Maybe notice that the intra-abdominal massage got more intense when you engage your abdomen. Perhaps you can notice that you can feel the sensation of breath deeper in your body, in your seat, more towards the back, in your lower back expansion. Just taking a couple more breaths here, and you can start expanding the breath even more. So the more space you can find in your lower body, notice yourself getting a little sleepy, make sure that you adjust your posture again. Really upright spine. Just a couple more breaths here, drawing the breath all the way down towards the tailbone. You can literally imagine growing roots into the ground with every inhale. So this deep pelvic breath was actually a secret of ancient martial arts masters to becoming mentally and physically practically immovable. So the deeper we can root our breath into the lower body, the more immovable our mind becomes under pressure. So taking just a few more breaths here, imagine growing deep roots into the ground with every inhale. Finding even more expansion in the lower body. Keeping the breath still in the lower body, but that doesn't mean that the breath needs to be shallow. Trying to find space, create space in the lower body as you continue breathing down towards your tailbone. Last couple of breaths, as you still try to find more expansion on the inhale, you can add a more active exhale. So not simply releasing the breath out, but imagine you're trying to actively push the breath out. So perhaps exhaling with a little bit of abdominal activation as well. Try to push all of the breath out. How empty can you get on exhale? How much space can you find on inhale? How much emptiness can you find on the exhale? From here, now that we have grown strong, deep roots into the ground, we can invite the breath to expand upwards. So breathing into the lower body is calming, grounding. When we invite the breath to expand upwards into the rib cage, this is activating, energizing. So imagine now you're trying to fill your body with breath like water filling a glass. The inhale first flows down into the seat, then it continues rising up into your chest and all the way into the collarbones. But make sure you keep it rooted in the seat. And as the breath rises into the chest, I want to invite you to pay particular attention to the expansion to the side. You can even place the palms of your hands on the sides of your rib cage and try to find more space, more room into the rib cage with every inhale. Filling the body with breath from the seat up. And as you pass through the rib cage, finding the sideways expansion, taking your time. Every inhale, imagine you're trying to find more space. With every exhale, imagine you're trying to find even more emptiness, pushing the breath out actively. Notice how the breath feels different now. Notice the sense of spaciousness, even liberation as you take a deep full inhale, expanding the sides of your rib cage. Notice the difference between the feeling at the top of the inhale, maximum expansion, maximum spaciousness, and the feeling at the bottom of the exhale, complete emptiness. Deepen your breath more, make the breath even bolder. The bolder you breathe, the energizing it's going to be. The lighter you breathe, the more calming it's going to be. So you can choose the degree to which you want to get more alertness, more energy into the body by controlling the volume that you take in. Then we're going to keep the same breathing pattern, but add a layer of rhythm. Now we're getting into the 5 to 6 breaths per minute. And with the next track, you can notice that there is a wave that you can follow, a rhythm. So we're going to start together. I'm going to count, and then you just continue on your own with the music. So we start with in, 2, Who is feeling more calm? Everyone. Is anyone feeling more energized, more alert? Everyone calm. Who's feeling more present? More connected to their body? Any other experiences that I didn't mention? Anyone feeling sleepy or drowsy? Quite a few. So I want to address this because this is actually going back to the awareness. Under normal circumstances, when your nervous system is balanced and you breathe in this way, you would get into a state that is calm but alert, calm focus or calm alertness. When with this breathing pattern you notice yourself actually getting drowsy, that is your body telling you that you're not resting enough. You're running on physiological debt. I'm not surprised to see so many people in this room because it's kind of part of running a business, but it is a signal to take seriously and perhaps find opportunities to prioritize rest a little bit more. Maybe you can get 30 more minutes of sleep every day, or get a massage on the weekend or something. So it is a signal that I would take seriously, so you don't go down into the downward spiral of eroding capacity. Okay, so whichever effect you experienced, now this is regulation, right? Shifting your state in the matter of a couple of minutes into a different state. With regular practice, you can turn this altered state into an altered trait. So it's basically not just a temporary shift anymore, but you can get into a state where your nervous system is operating on a higher level in general, and you feel more calm, more clear, more steady, more alert all day long. So basically you can really compare it to going to the gym. You go to the gym to strengthen your body, right? And regular breath practice can strengthen your nervous system in the same way, make it more resilient, and to elevate it to operate on a higher level in general. Some of the outcomes of consistent breath training you can see here as increased heart rate variability. I don't know if there are any biohackers in the room. That's basically the key metric for a flexible and resilient nervous system. You'll notice increased emotional resilience and better emotional regulation in tense situations, and also improved cognitive function, especially access to higher cognition in situations where you're under pressure. So you don't go into this Neanderthal mode as quickly or as easily anymore. And the cool thing about this, there are actually studies, pretty decent randomized controlled trial studies that show that it only takes about 5 minutes of breath training per day to start tapping into some of these long-term effects, into the baseline effects in a matter of a couple of weeks, which I find super empowering because of course you're all busy, but everyone can find 5 minutes, right? And it doesn't even need to be a dedicated morning practice. You can just get 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there in the course of the day, like Philip said also before. And then once you notice how it makes you more present, more clear, more perceptive, you can start finding more opportunities to integrate it into the day. So it doesn't take extra time, you just integrate it into your day. I feel like a lot of times we have this tendency to dismiss things that seem too simple. Right? It's like, okay, functional breathing, yeah, right, I'm breathing anyway, right? So like, what's the point? How big of a difference it can make? You would be surprised how profound it can be just to integrate this practice that we just did together into your day, starting with 5 minutes, and then maybe finding more and more time in the course of your day, in your meetings. It allows you to be much more present. So that was training. I want to just briefly touch also on the topic of context engineering. We don't have too much time to go into this, but I do want to mention it for the sake of completeness, that if you're serious about nervous system intelligence, you also need to start thinking about your environment, your habits, your lifestyle, and how they impact your your state of mind and your state of your body. So some of the main levers that you could start looking into when you want to get into more coherent or aligned state is things like sleep, movement, light, spending time in nature and silence, hugely underrated, your digital hygiene, you know, like late night scrolling on the couch might feel nice in the moment, is not actually restoring you. How do you manage your distractions? What do you take in? Food, alcohol, caffeine, how much social connection you get, also boundaries and cold exposure. And there are more things. And so I don't want to kind of like present a totally overwhelming list here. This is definitely, I would say, a more longer term topic to get into. But if I had to pick one that I would start with and really prioritize, it's definitely sleep. And the reason for that is that sleep is the only intervention that allows you to clear the metabolic waste from your brain that accumulates when you do intense mental work every day. And when you don't clear it out properly, when it accumulates, it causes brain fog. And in the long term, when you don't get enough sleep, it's a brain health issue as well. So, of course, if you have small children at home, that's a luxury that you might not have. But to the degree that you can definitely protect and prioritize your sleep, don't sacrifice it for the sake of productivity, because it's not possible.
I was just thinking I was missing one thing that changed my life. That was my
Yes.
fiance.
Yes.
For me, she's my ultimate, I would say, context engineering from this kind of list.
Yeah.
So like it's just a topic that I'm passionate about, because I think a lot of founders kind of, you know, are so busy, and for me, having that partner in my life really
Yeah.
has changed my life. So I think it's just something I always like to share when it's something like this, because I think that is so underrated when you have a partner who always supports you on your
Yes.
own journey. So I was just like add the 11th one myself.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Okay, so I want to wrap up with the takeaways. What I hope you would take away from today. First of all, nervous system intelligence is a key leadership meta skill, especially now in the age of AI that is accelerating everything and the exploding complexity, because it allows you to close the gap between the abilities that you need to navigate this complex landscape as a leader and the abilities that you can actually access based on the state of your biology. It starts with awareness. The simplest way to read the state of your body is through your breath. If you notice yourself breathing shallow and fast at the top of your chest most of your day, that's something to take seriously. Number 3, breath is also the most direct way to regulate your state. The 4 foundations of functional breathing are, who was paying attention? Number 1, posture. Number 2, nose. Number 3, low. And number 4, slow. Simple enough, right? 20,000 opportunities every day to practice that. Number 4, with regular training, you can raise the baseline of your nervous system and also the baseline of your performance overall. It takes as little as 5 minutes per day to start noticing some of these baseline effects beyond the immediate state shift. And number 5, context engineering is about designing the external conditions to thrive and being deliberate about how you spend your time also outside of work. What do you spend your time with? What's your environment? What are the people who are the people that you're surrounding yourself with? So to close this session, I would say as a founder, of course, you can't control everything. There is a lot actually that is outside of your control, but you can choose your state to a pretty significant degree, and that is your most important lever that you have as a founder, as a leader, because your state fundamentally determines the level of ability that you can reach, and with that, your effectiveness as a leader and your chances of success for your company as well. So don't leave it up to chance. That's my main message today. And if you want to go deeper, you can of course dive deeper into the functional breathing and just start integrating it into your day-to-day, that alone is a big game changer. It is much more profound than it seems. It seems so simple, but the effect is really profound. If you want to go deeper, I offer one-on-one coaching. I also offer a peer group program. So if there's maybe multiple people who are interested to dive deeper, we could form a cohort together. And I also offer workshops and programs for your company. So if you want to bring this into your startup, into the leadership team, or into the whole team as a workshop similar to this one, or as a nervous system resilience program that goes over multiple weeks, let me know. Here's how you can reach me afterwards. I'm of course here also to talk after the session today. And with that, I thank you all for listening and for